Here.
Still showing.
Right here.
And close
It is
it.
5:01, so I will call this meeting of the Port of Hood River Commission to order. Are there any modifications to the agenda from staff?
President Shepherd, staff recommends that we delete consent item C of the agenda tonight. I'd like to bring it back for the next meeting. And that vote.
Thank you. Anything from commissioners? Also need to open the public hearings on the approved budget for fiscal year 22 and 23. That public hearing is now officially open. Did we receive any public comment this evening?
We have a few more written public comments that I'll have to send to you separately that were received since Friday. All of them are related to the bridge closure, so I'll forward those to you.
And the announcement went out today about the
Changing,
change.
yeah, right.
With that, we can move on to the consent agenda. I entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda with the noted deletion of items.
Motion.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye, consent agenda passes. There are no presentations on our agenda this evening. Public reports, we'll move straight to the executive director's report.
Well, let me just highlight a few things. The CFO search process is underway. We've reached the point where the submittal period is closed, and there were 6 responses, plans and strategies. They could be the first evaluation. I'll be doing those interviews with Zoom with the 6 candidates next week. And they will make recommendations back to me and to the personnel committee, for which ones they recommend, and subsequently. I will say that of the 6, the pool, 2 are out of state, 2 or 3. So we're looking ahead. There will be some questions on how to get those candidates here. But first of all, we'll have to make that out. The likelihood is maybe should take place in June or early. I think I noted again, NWA, I'll be in Spokane next week for the last executive committee meeting. So I will be in attendance here, but only via Zoom.
Yep.
About the technology.
Yeah, no problem.
And I've got a couple presentations coming up.
Well, hold on a second on that one, specific on West Michael. You know, you got a pretty senior role in that operation right now. Do we have plans of somebody else from the port participating in that, or are we just gonna let it go?
And I'm glad you pointed that out, because Heather Stebbings, the second director, did reach out and asked who would be representing the port. Typically, you have a commissioner that's been essentially assigned for that. Assigned means being on the board of directors of NWA, which frankly doesn't mean a whole lot at this time. There's a role to play in adopting budget each year, and some other administrative tasks. At the summer conference of the but so typically we have a commissioner that's assigned to that role and a staff, which is usually the executive director is assigned. So I would ask
What benefit do you see that we've received from that organization over the last few years?
well, they're one of the premier advocacy lobbying organizations recognized on the Hill, Capitol Hill, for its professionalism, its history, its knowledge, its activism. And we participate and we benefit from being part of kind of a sisterhood force, transportation agencies that not only enable us to get back in DC and get us into offices and agencies, different elected officials and their staff, but they also provide a terrific backstop that we're asking for something. So having NWA support and having better procurement way and the effective lobbyists effectively they lobby can
So, as an example, the last 2 or 3 years, how many times have we used that?
Boy, I'd say every year. Continuous.
So give me an example of how we used it in a program that we're trying to do.
Well, they've been instrumental in many bridge replacement efforts over the years when we need to get in contact with people on the phone, to demonstrate part of a large group of public agencies and businesses that see the importance of bridge replacement. When we need testimony from large pilots, which is important to demonstrate. It's not as though NWA is the agency, the organization that say we got $100 million plan, but it's the organization that provides a whole lot of backstop to all of them that are advocacy. They were instrumental, for example. The vertigo, last 2 verticals had specific language in there. The last one allowed for provided to a study of the method. And prior to that, was it TIPIA?
Yeah,
Sorry.
The fast lane legislation. Yeah.
passed legislation to provide carve out projects in this efficiency.
So you probably use this out that if we decided at some point in time, we need to figure out how to dredge out on the river to get better access. If we want to do that.
And I would say that have to change the language, but we don't use them for part of it.
No, I understand that. Okay, but the benefit of being there is this kind of stuff.
There's regular trips back to the field, there's regular interaction or the White House Budget Office. There's all sorts of ways in which situations utilize their contacts. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's important.
We gotta decide where we're going.
Well, it might be better, I mean,
next week.
I'm sorry.
One thing that answered my questions is the last 2 years have been abnormal. It's really hard for you to answer that question.
Because of public.
Yeah, it really has been. And they're much more involved on a first name basis prior to the last 2 years. That kind of flow an asset to us. That's a good point.
I don't think you have to decide tonight, but I would recommend the commission to think about who wants to do that. Participate, typically it means 2 meetings a year, usually. Or that we were in the summer, that was helping us. We have it here, that's Western. Terrific organization, we're getting to know a whole body, boards, transportation organizations, shipping outfits. So it's a collective. Thank you. Well, highlighting a couple more things. So the group Waterford Urban Oak District, we have a scheduled presentation directly. Yeah. There was a scheduled board presentation. Yeah, 11, so Monday. And so we have to work out how we keep that momentum going. This is connected to the last bullet where we were more successful. That was a big one. And I gave you some of the numbers of West Cockerby, folks, enormously. So 2.9 million is really big to us. 57 million and we have like 400 million or so requests. So that means that to be able to enable both First Street and then go further, it's likely that urban will happen. Couple of the highlights, the new signage, the picture there, that's the first, let me just say, John, the first edition of new signage, 15 mile per hour speed limit.
Yep.
And John and his crew put up the flashing lights so people would notice more. And the second tranche is the
radar signs are to be here tomorrow.
will be in.
They'll be in tomorrow.
Okay. And then we already talked briefly, Bridge program, rain dates will be used, so 24, 25, 26. I'm not sure to ask Dawn what happens if it rains. Don't
It
answer.
won't be raining most days.
So we're not closing this weekend? No,
No, no.
okay.
One thing they want to mention here on our website too is that there's no passing while.
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah, might want to put that on the
Yep.
website, just
Yep.
remind people that somebody will want.
Good point. I got a call.
John brought that up earlier.
One called me and said she was that's 4 times already.
So I've got one other thought on this whole bridge speed and stuff. And also the construction work. Is there a lessons learned in there that we ought to be taking away for future use on all this publicity that we've got from the public? And what it comes to my mind, and this is not a criticism on anybody, because we were all in it. Do we need to have a checklist? And even though it sounds stupid, but we didn't do it. To check, one, is that before we schedule a shutdown, or is the Dalles open, yes or no? Is there any local community events, major events that this would impact? Yes or no? If it's yes, what is it? What's the repercussion? So we just get a checklist
Mhm.
that as we come in here, we'll make sure that we go through that list and not forget one.
Mhm.
I didn't even think about graduating.
Mm.
Wasn't on my radar on all.
The thing that worries me on that, I agree, I don't disagree with you at all, but the thing that worries me is when batch plants are open to do asphalt, you're talking late summer, or excuse me, late spring through fall, early fall.
Right.
That's when they have to do it. Find me a weekend in this community, but we're not gonna impact some.
Yeah, I don't.
Right.
And then you have to do it on the weekend because you can't do it during the week.
Yeah, I
Right.
think that list is just really long. I think there's some kind of cost value, you gotta look at it, and everybody needs to be, no matter what you do, you're not gonna please everybody.
I think knowing going into the discussion that we're gonna fork off this group is probably okay, because we talked about it.
Yeah.
I just would hate to see us
Well, isn't there,
forget about this, and,
Right.
and we've got a lessons learned here. Let's write it down.
Yeah. We talked about this and,
It's
yeah.
too long,
Yeah.
throw the list away.
there's driving reasons other than what we control, availability of material, availability of contractors, we don't dictate that. I can't do that. We have a service supply. You know, at some point, you're gonna find like you just can't please everybody.
Yeah.
And at some point, you gotta leave it to the experts, hey, we're doing this, get behind you, we support you, we're trying to minimize the impact.
Okay, but I'm gonna tell you right now, and John, if you would have gone out to Brennan and said, the windows we would like for you to do is not this weekend, but next weekend, and rain date of such and such. If you did that back early enough, they probably have the flexibility to do that. Well, maybe we can't do it next week because we got something, I can do it this week, or I can wait 2 or 3
You
weeks.
can't really pre-plan for that until you have a contract in place. I can't ask a contractor to do something on a contract they're not signing on. So, you know, I can't, our hands are, there's a bit of hand tying there that goes along with this. And I was already asking our contractor to move on this before I had a signed contract. Luckily, it's a contractor that I've worked with quite a bit at Wichita County. They trusted me and they went, or we wouldn't have done it this fast.
Okay, I'll
Draw that right now. It's won't turn out this time of year. This is an abnormal year. Said that date was useless because we moved ours back. Yes, we moved theirs back because of the rain. I just think we're asking too much. We have to play.
If I could add, I think Commissioner Fox brings up really good points.
Right.
And most importantly, I don't think we should close this bridge.
Right.
That causes enormous.
Or Bridge of the Gods.
You said it wasn't happy, but it still is.
Right.
No, it's not.
Fine.
It's not.
Fine says.
It's not happening right now. That was
From Memorial Day to Labor Day, they're not doing their weekend. Yeah.
We all have to remember that the citizens of Dallas have to drive around their bridge for a year, every weekend, 3 days, every week. It's partly community. They just have to understand that we have a really old bridge. We have to take care of it. That's going to be inconvenient sometimes.
One thing on the lessons learned, though, I think would be really important on a short list is we can issue a bid, negotiate a contract, sign a contract, and finalize it in a short period of time. But we need to build for a closure like this, a couple of months' notice at the least. Public notice to give time to, we need to, when we're scheduling a project and we're putting it out to bid, we need to be able to say, okay, we need 8 weeks at least for this closure of this duration, maybe 12 weeks for a closure of a 3-day duration, to give folks enough warning and enough time, and to give us time to get, some feedback of who we're affecting.
As long as the project we're talking about is not time critical, I
Right,
agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
There's gonna be some cases where we just have a
Right.
call.
Right.
We gotta get it done. That, I'm totally prepared to take on all the heat of the because it's for the safety of the bid. So, it's just something to think about
Yeah.
here, guys. I've got 2 other questions on that one page. The second question, I guess, is for you, Don. We originally said when we were going to modify the ramp, do the work on the ramps, you were going to do the lateral bracing underneath at the same time. Is that still the plan?
We're just getting the plans aren't complete yet. So, no, that won't, that's,
Because we talked about this quite a while back. What-
I've got engineers going as quickly as I can keep them moving. Engineers right now are just buried and doing the best they can. They're having the same problems all of us are having with employees. They're buried, and I don't know how to explain it any better than that, getting projects out of engineers, that's what slowed the whole approach project down, was getting that project off the engineers' plates and onto ours.
How long have they known that we wanted this?
Maybe a month and a half since we talked about it in here.
The last question is at the top of the page, Mike, on the airport. It says, delivery date of the new outgas tank is now scheduled for June 24th. The next bullet is for, my question is, we are continuing to wait for costs associated with the DEQ cost recovery agreement review of the USD decommission project. Is that the tank that we've had the problems with next? Okay, and what are we doing here? We're waiting for final costs to be able to go
The
negotiate?
DEQ will review the report from Soil Solutions.
Oh, okay.
The UST service provider, and so they're on an hourly basis, so there's really no way that we can gauge what that cost is gonna be. So there's a cost recovery program. Essentially, they'll look over the report and give it their blessing, and then they'll send us a bill.
Okay.
That's what we
we
wait
close it off, but we're waiting on them to get the phone.
That's correct.
Thank you. That was my report.
Thank you. Okay, a couple committee reports.
We're not gonna talk about the wire rope. The next item in the packet.
No, that's not where we're at. That wire rope is down under action items.
Yeah, okay, so.
We're gonna talk about committee reports, and the first one's the Airport Advisory Committee.
So I have a draft plan, for basically just ideas that I would like the committee to review. And we're not gonna talk about them now, but, just to review, and then you can email me, any ideas or thoughts you have about it. I don't have a presentation today. I've written draft across. I have a copy for. There's nothing really new to report as far as the official AAC meeting. Abby, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, Brandon and I spoke earlier at the meeting about the proposal draft here. I think it's way needed and really good to lay it out. Why not commissioners' position to look at it's something to be done. Yeah, I think we need to identify what the AEC committee role is, a different committee does this, and where we're gonna go, we're gonna offset, about offset revenue, bridge, new offset the debt service for the airport operations. Yeah, I think we need to sit down and have a roundtable work study And we have Gregor be of the will, kind of facilitate that meeting so that we get an idea by commissioners and staff. Understand where we're going to go with the airport, how we're going to alleviate that service. And really understand the public nuances of the airport and understand the hangar situation, how we're going to address that. It's like public-private phone. There's just a lot of, it's kind of been the orphan up there. I think it's the down five commissioners on the same page and move this thing forward in a practical way. And within a short time, we got some issues here ahead of us, and we got some major changes in the office here going on. But I think Heather, it's time to get revitalized, rejuvenated, and to identify our focus. I think who's going to head that, how we're going to put capital into the create capital.
So it would be fair to ask commissioners and staff to take a look at this and provide you with, both of you with, or whomever, with ideas and discussion topics, and then let you guys compile that. And then if you'd like to request at any time a work session on that specific topic.
Another suggestion, how about if we compile a great suggestion, you know?
Yeah.
Greg?
If everybody can email me, so it's not like an official three-way discussion, then I can compile everything and figure out how to move forward from there.
You know, I don't know.
And then if,
Greg.
then if anything comes up that you feel like needs legal,
Well, everything will need legal review, I think, especially when we're talking about when the word zoning comes up.
you
or
have to
anything
talk to legal, not me, right?
Certainly, but that'll be just your request.
Okay.
If you want me to, I will.
Okay.
Absolutely. But if you want a work session to get kind of these more detailed, just let staff know, let me know, we'll make sure we get it on the calendar at a commission meeting, we'll figure out when it works and we on the calendar.
Okay.
And then once we have that, I'll.
I didn't ask you, didn't you seem the most logical person to be the hub of this, facilitate it.
Certainly, yeah.
And, reach out to us, part of us for help. But I think it's gonna be one of those things we need to address. The elephant in the room, and, you don't have the clout that we have, and, we don't have the knowledge that you have, the resources.
I would add that the committee is now, the next session, they're gonna be reviewing, or there's 3 open seats for committee members. So when you look at how to get there, the 2 options of whether to energize the existing committee, 3 of those 7 seats will be new faces, new names. These are volunteers. So there'll be a chance for the commission to review 6 applicants for those 3 seats. One of those seats, an existing committee member, his term has timed out, would like to renew that. So that's also the commission's option, but it's an optimum time to sit in the next AAC meeting and give a directive on how this committee should operate, or how the commission would like for that committee to operate as far as an advisory board. It's perfect time.
It made a change. It mainly had a noise situation with the main purpose. And that's kind of exciting for itself. But, for the board, you may want individuals who are more developers or outside the box people, but maybe is, sometimes it can close-minded in a situation where we want to be one of the freedom. And do we keep the AAC alive, or do we reframe it, rename it, and have it purpose?
Yeah. I think the timing is perfect.
I just want to project on behalf of legal, if you do have any issues that come up that you don't have to wait for the whole package. We always appreciate having a little bit of lead time to research things. So if there are particular issues that are coming up, either Greg or Heather or reach out to them and wants to direct us to do that work, that's totally fine. But I appreciate the long lead time.
Great, thank you for doing that. Discussion started.
It's a sharing screen.
Okay, so everybody can get any thoughts and ideas you have back to Commissioner Perry, to your meeting. We can plan on a longer discussion in the future. All right, Bi-State Working Group, Commissioners.
We continue to make progress on the RDMC award. We've held 2 or 3 negotiation sessions since our last meeting with the folks. We're making progress, a little slower than some of us want, but we're at least going forward. We hope to have, feedback from HNTV tomorrow.
Yeah, I received the materials from them this evening.
And then our next negotiation meeting is Wednesday of next week. And we're hoping that scope wise, we're real close by that point in time. Kind of the philosophy we're looking at for the vote. We've given them the first year series of work that we want them to accomplish. They've come back with some really good discussion items, comments about, you know, if you've got this much money, you may want to think about doing this instead of that and pushing this out a little bit. It's going to get you more bang for the buck. Our approach is we're open to all of those kinds of suggestions, but we've got to make the award first. So we have a scope of work that we've given to the ARA, who is doing our ICE or independent process. We got to get the same thing from HNTV. We do a reconciliation between the two. We reach agreement on that, push forward with the contract. We've got the contract language, I believe, pretty well agreed. Once that goes into ODOT for review, we can go ahead and start process through change order number 1, which is making these adjustments that both the bi-state budget committee agreed to, as well as the Port Commission. We'll go ahead and make those changes and off we go. We're off the line. But we got to live within the budget. So that's kind of where we are on that. We're in the process of getting ready for the July 18th trip back to Washington, D.C. with 5 of us. Kevin's going to be going now with us, and he's working with Hal.
Yep, Al's got the itinerary put together. We'll be meeting with U.S. Department of Transportation, the TIFIA folks, USDA. I think we've been told, yes, many of you have already met these individuals. So it should be, it'll be a great opportunity. We got Mayor McBride is going to be attending, Kent County Commissioner Jake Anderson. We've got Mayor Marla Keeper from White Salmon, Commissioner Fox, and so I think that's 4 of us.
And lastly, maybe give them a briefing on the discussion with Senator King.
Yeah, so yeah, it's kind of interesting when Senator King calls unannounced and pops up on your phone. It's like, okay, well, I guess I better take this. And so he's very interested, and he just wanted to hear what was going on with NEPA. And so I told him that there were 3 outstanding items. Obviously, the NEPA final EIS record of decision. We've got the biological opinion that has been sitting on the branch chief's desk for about 18 months. And then the section 106 work, which is actually coming to a conclusion. So I can honestly say that on the section 106, within 2 months, that should be done. I don't feel like that's just a date that's being given to us, and that it's actually one that I feel is going to happen. And that will be a big hurdle to overcome. So basically what I just told you is what I told Senator King. He asked about the tribes. Said, we've been working with the 4 treaty tribes. It's very slow. And he brought up a really good point. He said, like a lot of times, you have cultural resources and the commercial fishing or fisheries aspects, and they're kind of battling amongst themselves. And those tribal boards don't necessarily want to be put in those positions either. And so it's just a long process, but he said that he would actually reach out on behalf of the project to agree that will matter. And he also said that he would like to see additional funding for the project in the next session. And if you recall, it was really Senator King who was able to generate $75 million for the project in this last session. That's real money. It's a matter about when it's going to be apportioned out for the post of the project starting in the 23-24 year. But he would like to see that double, if not increase. And so I think that, and I asked him, I said, when's your term up? And he said 24. And I said, are you planning on running again? And he said, you know what? I feel great. My health is wonderful. And I still feel like I've got some juice and something to offer. So he's going to run again. So I think in the back of his mind, he wants to see this bridge done.
Yeah.
Quicker. So it's just, I feel really great that that Senator King feels comfortable enough to call up, and then he met with the mayors in White Salmon and Bingen on Monday. And so I'm sure we're gonna have a coffee with Mayor Keepler tomorrow morning, so I'm sure she'll have a report on that, so.
But we're also thinking that before we go back to DC on the 18th, we take that package that we're building now. And maybe Kevin, Jake Anderson and myself go up and sit down and say. And then we gotta go after Oregon, because Oregon is way behind the curve as far as funding this project, so. We're gonna have to do some leverage. If we can get 195 out of federal, 150 or so out of Washington, it's time to go to Oregon to fund that. And not 20 million. Stay tuned.
Thank you. I think at this time I can close the public meeting. I correct, all right, so we'll close the public hearing on the approved budget for fiscal year 22-23. And we have two action items this evening. The first one, John, contract with Jane.
We have a contract that we'd like to move, I would very much like to move forward with in inspecting our roads. We are probably, due to COVID again, and just how it's difficult to get things through, we're probably 6 months behind where we should have inspected those cables. We have to make this, right now there's any getting it out faster. The time it takes to make the cables is going to put us in November. And we've had 12 lifts since they inspected it, and it's time to look at them again. And what this will tell us, it's not going to relieve having to do the replacement of wire roads. But what it will do is give us some peace of mind that that isn't getting worse. And we don't really know that. So it's time to get somebody hanging off a rope, inspect that cables, make sure we aren't developing any other ones anywhere in the same situation that they're looking at. And it's really just a matter of making sure that it's going to do what it's supposed to do until November.
So the current plan, we will have the cable by November to do the work.
That's correct.
And what's your confidence factor that's actually going to occur?
The engineers dug in really hard to figure out timelines for roads. And I feel very confident that we can just.
Okay, but somebody, the rope's on order.
No, the rope is not on order. It won't be on order until we go out to bid, which is going to be very soon.
Okay.
Any more questions for John? Then we entertain a motion on the action item.
Make a motion to approve contract with this Chin Elster Associates for Bridgewater ropes inspection services not to exceed $30,602. I'll second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Okay.
Chair's eye. That will pass. And the second final action item is yours truly. As you all know, Michael will be retiring on July 8th. After extensive discussions with Commissioner Chapman and each of you as well, we decided that while the executive director search process is ongoing, and you'll be receiving a proposal at the next meeting from us regarding that process. During that 3 to 5 month term or process of hiring a new ED, we think it is in the best interest of the court to have an individual acting as interim or acting, however they wish to be titled, executive director through that transition period. There were several discussions on the type of person that we would want and what they would do. We thought it important that that person be familiar with the board, someone that is hopefully here. And we were very fortunate that Genevieve has agreed to take on that role. Took some arm twisting, but she's agreed to do it. And we would like to recommend that the commission this evening appoint her acting executive director on July 9th to the period of the executive director search until a new director is hired. Genevieve will not be applying for that job, but she's more than willing to keep everything going here until such time we hire an executive director. So tonight we're looking for your approval on that appointment, beginning on July 9th and ending at the time we hire an executive director, pending a contract agreement between the commission and Genevieve, which will be necessary for that appointment.
Mr. Genevieve, do you want an end date?
I'm here to help. I hope the end date is as quick as it could be, but yes, yeah, yeah. I'm here to help.
Be expediting.
Yeah.
2023.
No, no, no.
No sense in you.
I so moved. I think excellent choice.
Thank
You
you.
do well.
I'll figure it out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
I might as well. That passes. Thank you so much for agreeing to do that.
Thanks.
Congratulations. If I go on.
Look forward to working with you guys.
Keep talking about that.
Okay.
Let's go on. Anything from commissioners, Commissioner Harris?
No.
Commissioner Capron?
Oh, no, actually.
Nothing from me either. Were there any directions to
Yes.
staff that we?
Because he was here attending. But he's
Well,
not.
based on
He's
the
speaking.
actual thing,
Executive.
just want to circle back on the record. That's, there were no public comments. I would have written form testimony tonight, add to the record. But this is also a chance for the commission to say whether there's any other changes to the issue. The budget. So we will now need to put that form about the next meeting, and try to do that. I just wanted to check for any other changes, suggestions, modifications that you recommend.
Then with that, we can recess regular session and enter into executive session under ORS. Under ORS 192.660 real estate negotiations, ORS 192.3559A to consider the employment of an officer, employee, or staff member, and 192.6602F to consider information or records that are exempt by law